Dr. Thiels, Dr. Ettinger, thanks for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate being here.
We've got the 2025 Beahrs Summit coming up pretty soon. I think we're running into November. And what I'd like to for our audience is discuss the process of innovation that's being approached at the Department of Surgery at Mayo. It's a very, very unique program and clearly being embraced by the industry. So how would you share that with our audience?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Mayo Clinic has a long history of surgical innovation. Over 100 years ago, the Mayo scissors and the Mayo stand were developed here and used in ORs around the world to this day. Things like the heart-lung bypass machine, some of the first ones were built in the basement here of Mayo Clinic. And more recently, we've adopted things like AI and robotics. And while we continue to accelerate innovation from within, we're really looking to accelerate that innovation through partnerships with every facet of industry, everything from large multinationals to venture capital to startups. And that's really where we've kind of evolved in the last couple of years, particularly in the Department of Surgery, is how we approach and really accelerate that innovation.
And the Beahrs Surgical Innovation Summit, how did it start, and what's its core business at the center of it?
Yeah, thank you. So, really where it started was really just with the goal of connecting people. The goal really of connecting surgeons, researchers, and innovators from inside Mayo Clinics, really with the experts from outside of Mayo Clinic. And that's really what our team, Dr. Ettinger, myself, and the rest of the team helps with and really kind of does throughout the year. The Beer Summit was something we started a couple of years ago with the goal of bringing people on campus in person to Mayo Clinic in Rochester and connecting them with our team and really the innovators and surgeons and researchers in our department so we can both learn from each other and really kind of set the stage for the next year of innovation and partnership.
And how large is the summit, and what type of attendees will be at Mayo during the event?
So the summit has seen quite a bit of growth over the multiple years that's been in existence, basically. And we've actually had to be a little bit intentional about not necessarily trying to limit per se, but we like the ability to have that kind of very kind of intimate feel and the ability to have a lot of interpersonal connections at the summit itself. And so we have typically tried to cap out our attendance to be around kind of that 300 to 350 attendee number. We feel like that's a really nice number to facilitate and allow those things to happen. And so that the distribution is typically going to be within the neighborhood of about 100 to 150 Mayo representatives, which are basic clinicians in the Department of Surgery. It's some of our Mayo VC folks, as well as other invited guests from higher level Mayo leadership. In addition to the industry contingent, which is distributed pretty regularly throughout the summit in terms of being roughly 70 plus percent startups, 20-ish to 25% large strategics, and that remaining kind of 5 to 10% external VC.
And for the 2025 coming up, are you particularly excited about any keynote or session in particular you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of sessions that we're quite excited about. And actually, our initial kind of kickoff session, which is going to be a bit of a fireside chat, talking about transforming healthcare in Rochester, Minnesota. And in essence, this is going to be kind of the most up to date of what's going on with the Mayo Clinic's Bold Forward and Unbound in Rochester project. And so for those that are unaware, this is kind of the most modern iteration of what I think has been a very long-standing historical tradition at Mayo Clinic, emphasizing the importance of integrating cutting edge and novel technology into the physical space in which we deliver healthcare. Dr. Thiels mentioned some very nice historical adages from Mayo Clinic's history and innovation, but also as it pertains to physical space. We had in the era of the Mayo brothers, this was something that was recognized very early. We have the exemplar being the Plummer Building, which still exists on our campus today, and for its time was the most innovative, cutting edge physical healthcare building in the country, if not the world at the time, with its essentially centralized universal medical record that had a pneumatic system of tubes that rapidly transmitted around the building so that when patients were coming in and receiving their multi-specialty medical and surgical workups that all the providers could share in this one unique medical record. And so absolutely cutting edge for its time and its day. And basically the Bold Forward and Unbound project in Rochester is the modern continuation of that tradition. And so this represents a $4 to $5 billion investment in infrastructure in the downtown Rochester campus. This is something that's actively going on as we speak, and we're going to have representation from the high level leadership in charge of that program.
What type of companies would you typically seek out to come to the Beer Summit, and what would they benefit from being attendees?
So there's a multitude of companies that we're looking for, as I kind of alluded to, with kind of the distribution of companies through the entire kind of life cycle development, from early startups to kind of startup adjacent to the full strategics. And realistically, we're trying to generate kind of a collaborative environment across all comers basically. We try to, as much as we can, foster a agenda and look at what are the ways in which we can kind of help to facilitate those types of relationships developing. We typically have an annual kind of like art of the deal type of a session, which we do have this year as well. But one of the additional ones that we're quite excited about is kind of taking a bit of a different twist on that theme and looking at a conference that we've essentially termed M&M, the surgical dissection of a failed deal. And so for those that aren't steeped in the traditions of surgical education, M&M refers to a conference that we have recurring that's called Morbidity and Mortality, or M&M for short. And this is always meant to be a very kind of critical, introspective look at when things don't go well. And the kind of the historical adage is that, well, the only true failure in your shortcomings is if you don't learn from the mistakes, right? And so I think many of us would learn better by acknowledging when things don't go as planned, or what does it look like when a deal has different levels of expectations from the parties, or we have to pivot to something different. What does that look like, such that so that future deals can be made more successful from both sides, both from the clinical side as well as from the side of industry.
With that in mind, how do you see companies taking part in surgical innovation and the role that they play, and how does the summit help create those relationships and connections?
Yeah, so I think the way companies and healthcare innovators really work together has really changed over time, right? It used to be that surgeons, researchers, hospitals would either develop a device or a drug, it would be patented and licensed, or a company, a medical technology company, would develop a device and sell it to a hospital, and we would put it in the OR. However, with technology, I think the best example is artificial intelligence. That really doesn't work anymore, and that really isn't the future of innovation. We can't keep stacking technologies on top of each other, and we really have to integrate these technologies together to really meet the unmet needs of the patient. And that's really our only goal here at Mayo Clinic, is to help meet those future and current needs. And we think the way to do that is to partner with medical technology companies, so we can develop those technologies together so that we can actually successfully integrate those into our practice and improve kind of the unmet needs of patients. So I really think the Beer Summit is just a one-day way to kind of kickstart that and get that going, and have those discussions in person, have conversations about how we can continue that over the next year, both obviously with Mayo Clinic, but also I think there's a lot to learn for innovating with other hospitals and collaborating in general in the future.
Are there any examples in particular you can share that Mayo has partnered with external and have changed the way healthcare is being pursued and delivered?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll highlight actually our keynote session this year. Our keynote sessions on digital pathology. And so we're really excited to have Dr. Jim Rogers, the CEO of Mayo Digital Pathology, introduce a session about Mayo's approach to advancing digital pathology, followed by our keynote speaker, Dr. Camille Ferrara, CEO of Optiscan, who's already partnered with Mayo Clinic in the past, really to help us revolutionize digital pathology. And at first you might think, well, is that really surgery? But what I would say is surgery is the entire care continuum. For me, who treats cancer patients, it's from the day they're diagnosed, not just through the surgery, but also the treatments they get before and after. Yes, what happens in the OR, but also their recovery, their post-operative course, any additional treatments they need, all the way through by the time they're recovered. And a big part of that is pathology. Now, traditionally, pathology has not been digital. It's been very much slide-based, and therefore hasn't really become integrated. But Mayo really took the approach of fully integrating digital pathology for everything we do, which now has a tremendous amount of potential, because now we can start integrating that into our surgeries and perioperative processes, as well as research and innovation. So we're really excited to kind of have a session just to kind of highlight that, both how we've done that at Mayo Clinic and the possibilities for other opportunities to kind of engage with digital pathology, because we think there's a lot of opportunity there from an AI standpoint.
And you mentioned opportunity. I mean, that it's a full day, and actually there's an event the night before. But what do you hope that attendees walk away with from the Beer Summit?
I think in general, it's a level of excitement and intrigue around and the possibilities of what could potentially be done. And I think there's a lot of very kind of interesting insider access, and I think one of the pitfalls for all of us is that we tend to get very bogged down in kind of our own little sphere of control and sphere of influence, right? We tend to be so, nose to the grindstone of whether you're the surgeon toiling away in the operating room or you're the CEO of a multinational billion-dollar company. We tend to have our very narrowed focus, and we all come at this with different backgrounds and lenses. And I think it's important to understand what's going on globally within, medtech as in healthcare as a whole, because what Mayo views as being important may differ slightly from, for instance, an executive or CEO of a company that has a very, very close finger on the pulse of what's going on and what they think is the best. But there's maybe some additional avenues or lenses by which they gain by coming to a summit like this, where they get a completely different perspective from the healthcare institution side. And so I think it's a super unique summit in that it can provide all comers with a very kind of tailored level of interest and excitement around a multitude of subjects.
Dr. Thiels, when I think about that with what Dr. Ettinger said, so I'm going to the summit, there's almost this feel of insider access, if not but for, when you commingle with the Mayo team. How would you describe that?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe that is kind of the reason we have the summit is we all block off time, a day, even before and after, so more than a day, to either we're already here, but people to come to Rochester and really meet in person. And the reason we do that is because we're all excited about innovation, right? We're excited about the future of surgery and the future of innovating together. And so I think that excitement really comes out for the surgeons and the innovators and researchers at Mayo who come to the summit. But I think that excitement also comes out pretty clearly from the people who attended the summit the last couple of years. They're excited to be there. They enjoy being there. And I think that energy is really what makes the summit kind of exciting and fun, and a great way to kind of kickstart innovation for the next year and the future after that. So I think it's really that excitement that drives those personal connections. And yes, we have great sessions, and I think people learn a lot from those. But it's that excitement that kind of gets the conversation started and gives people opportunity to kind of chat one-on-one or have meetings before and after, or come onto campus. Things like that is, I think, really what kind of just kickstarts what people are already doing. People are innovating internally and externally, but kind of coming together to do that together. We've seen that just be extremely productive in terms of moving the needle forward. So excited to do that again later this year.
Well, gentlemen, it's only a couple of weeks away. I'm definitely looking forward to it. This will be, I believe, my third, and I appreciate the privilege of chairing it this year with you. So I welcome both of you. Any closing statements, or what do you hope to walk away with yourself in 2025 Beahrs Summit?
Yeah, I think we've just been really excited about how it's gone in the past. And so excited for this year to kind of be kicking it to almost to the next level, where we'll have sessions on investments in AI and how do we really actually start to bring these technologies in together. I think you'll actually be chairing that session with others from NVIDIA and O Surgical and Dissect Health and Boston Health AI. And so it's just one of the sessions examples where we're bringing together really just thought leaders from around the country and actually around the world, quite a bit of international presence, and all converging in Rochester to kickstart the next year and a couple years after that of innovation in surgery. So I think this year is going to be extremely exciting. Excited to have you chairing it, and look forward to meeting in person a couple weeks again.
Thank you. And Dr. Ettinger, your final word.
I agree with Dr. Thiels. It's like going back to the well. It reinvigorates you every year and gets you charged up and excited to tackle the year upcoming. And it allows the opportunity to foster existing relationships, rekindle those types of things, and also find many anew as well. So really excited for it.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you both for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. I'm Joe Mullings from 160 Studios. Be well.